The village of Dingucha, nestled in Gujarat, India, was a place of humble dreams and quiet resilience. Among its inhabitants were the Patels, a family known for their hard work and close-knit bonds. Jagdish Patel, the patriarch, was a farmer, his calloused hands a testament to years of toil under the Indian sun. His wife, Vaishali, was known for her gentle spirit and unwavering strength. Together they nurtured their two children, 11-year-old Dharmik and 7-year-old Vihengi, instilling in them the values of honesty, perseverance and hope. Life in Dingucha was far from easy. The Patels faced the daily struggles of limited opportunities and economic hardship, yet they held on to their dreams, their hearts set on a brighter future for their children. America, the land of opportunity, shimmered on the horizon of their aspirations, a beacon of hope and promise. The thought of leaving their ancestral home was daunting, yet the desire for a better future for their children outweighed their fears. The whispers of America grew louder, weaving themselves into the fabric of their dreams, fueling their determination to seek a life beyond the confines of their village. The allure of America was particularly strong in Dingucha. The village had a long history of migration, with generations of families venturing overseas in search of better opportunities. Economic hardship, coupled with the promise of higher wages and a better quality of life in the West, proved irresistible for many. Stories of villagers who had left with little more than the clothes on their backs, only to return years later, successful and prosperous, became part of Dingucha's folklore. These tales painted a picture of America as a land of boundless opportunity, where hard work and determination were rewarded with material wealth and social mobility. Young men saw America as a place where they could earn enough to support their families back home. Parents envisioned a life where education was accessible and opportunities were plentiful. The Patels, too, were swept up in this wave of aspiration. They listened intently to the stories of their neighbors, their hearts filled with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The thought of Dharmik being confined to a life of farming filled them with a quiet desperation. The Patels, fueled by the collective aspirations of their village, began to seriously consider the possibility of migration. As the Patels grappled with their decision, a human smuggler emerged, promising a safe passage to the West. These individuals preyed on the hopes and desperation of families like the Patels, offering them a way out. The smugglers painted a rosy picture of life abroad, downplaying the risks and exaggerating the potential rewards. The Patels, naive and desperate, were drawn in by the smugglers' promises. They had heard whispers of others from the village who had used similar channels to reach the West. The smuggler spun tales of a well-established network, of guaranteed visas and safe passage. He assured them that everything would be taken care of, that their journey would be smooth and hassle-free. The Patels, blinded by their desire for a better future, chose to ignore the warning signs. The smuggler emphasized the dangers of the traditional immigration route, presenting his services as a safe and reliable alternative. The cost of this illicit passage was exorbitant, draining the Patels' life savings and forcing them to take on crippling debts. The Patels, caught in the web of his deceit, were oblivious to the dangers that lay ahead. The smuggler secured Canadian tourist visas for the Patel family. Canada, he explained, was a stepping stone to their ultimate destination, the United States. The Patels, relieved to have cleared the first hurdle, clung to the belief that they were on the right track. They bid farewell to their families and friends, their hearts heavy with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The villagers gathered around them, offering blessings and words of encouragement. The journey from Dingucha to Canada was long and arduous. The Patels, accompanied by other families, travelled by road and air, their movements orchestrated by the smugglers' network. They endured cramped buses, sleepless nights, and the constant fear of detection. Throughout the journey, the smuggler remained in contact, providing instructions and reassurance. Upon arriving in Toronto, the Patels felt a surge of both excitement and trepidation. The city, a stark contrast to their rural village, overwhelmed them with its towering skyscrapers and bustling streets. The smuggler had arranged for their temporary accommodation in a nondescript motel on the outskirts of the city. The room was small and cramped, but they were grateful for a place to rest and regroup. The Patels spent their days in Toronto exploring their surroundings, marveling at the unfamiliar sights and sounds. Yet, beneath their excitement, a current of anxiety ran deep, knowing Toronto was just a temporary stop. Toronto offered the Patels a fleeting glimpse of the life they had envisioned. They marveled at the city's diversity, the ease with which people from different cultures coexisted. The sight of children of all colors playing together filled them with a sense of hope. For a brief moment, they believed they could find a place in this society. They ventured into Little India, savoring the familiar flavors that brought a sense of comfort. In these moments, they felt a sense of belonging, a temporary reprieve from fear. Yet the Patels knew that Toronto was not their final destination. The smuggler's instructions were clear. They were to remain in the city only until he made arrangements for their onward journey. They lived in a constant state of anxiety, their movements restricted, their lives dictated by the whims of a criminal network. The Patels clung to the belief that their sacrifices would be worth it, that their children would one day reap the rewards of their perilous journey. After what felt like an eternity, the smuggler contacted the Patels with new instructions. Their journey to America was about to begin, but it wouldn't be easy. They were to travel westward to Manitoba, where they would cross the border into the United States on foot. The Patels, though apprehensive, trusted the smuggler's plan. They packed their meager belongings and prepared for the next leg of their journey. The journey westward was long and grueling. The Patels, along with other families, were crammed into the back of a windowless van. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and fear. The Patels did their best to comfort their children, singing them songs and telling them stories. As they traveled further west, the landscape transformed from bustling cityscapes to vast, desolate prairies. The temperature plummeted and snow began to fall. Inside the van, the atmosphere was stifling, the air thick with tension and fear. The smuggler maintained a stoic silence, his face etched with grim determination. He warned them of the dangers that lay ahead, emphasizing the importance of following his instructions. The Patels couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading deeper into the unknown, their dreams hanging precariously in the balance. The van finally came to a halt on the outskirts of Emerson, Manitoba. The smuggler instructed the group to disembark. They were now on their own, he informed them, and had to make their way on foot to a designated meeting point just across the border. The Patels, their bodies stiff from the long journey, stepped out into the biting cold. The wind whipped across the open prairie, biting through their thin clothing. The snow, now falling heavily, swirled around them, obscuring their vision. The Patels, their breath-forming icy clouds, huddled together for warmth. Dharmik shivered uncontrollably, his eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Vihangi buried her face in her mother's side, seeking comfort from the cold and fear. The smuggler issued a final warning and pointed them in the direction of the distant lights. The Patels, their bodies weary, their spirits battered, took a collective breath and stepped forward into the blinding snow. The wind howled around them, whipping the snow into a blinding frenzy. They pressed on, driven by a desperate hope, their eyes fixed on the distant lights. Each step was a battle against the elements, but they dared not stop, not with the promise of a better life so close, yet so agonizingly out of reach.